Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who are just joining us, my name is Vazzana, and I'm a fashion editor, stylist, and the author and founder of Making It in Manhattan, based in New York City. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a huge Q&A video. I had you guys submit questions to me on Instagram, so I'm just going to grab my phone and start going through those questions and see how many we can get to. So let's get started. So I'm going to kick things off with one of my most frequently asked questions, which is, what did you major in and where did you go to college? I get asked this question a lot, and I think it's really important to chat about it because I feel like a lot of you might be in high school or getting ready to apply to college and you're trying to figure out what to major in and where to go to school. So personally, I went to a small liberal arts college in Reading, Pennsylvania. It's called Albright College, and I double majored in fashion design and merchandising. I really enjoyed doing this because I knew I wanted to go to college for fashion and I knew I wanted to work in fashion, but I didn't know exactly what aspect of the industry I wanted to work in. So whether it was magazines or buying or design, I just really wasn't sure. So doing a double major of design and merchandising really gave me endless possibilities to try out different classes. So I got to take design courses, but I also got to take business courses and Photoshop courses and things like that. So I got to try out a lot of different things, which was really great and helped me eventually decide that I wanted to go into magazines. I think it's so important to be posting regularly. So whether you can only post 3 days a week, if you could post every day, that's great. I think consistency is key to gaining a following on social media because then people know what to expect. They know what to keep coming back for. I think another thing that's really important when it comes to growing a following is finding your niche. So for me personally, I post about fashion, beauty, life in New York City, pre-COVID, of course, and definitely career advice. So those are things that I'm always constantly posting about and talking about. So when people follow me, they know what to expect. They know what they're getting into, kind of. So I think that's really important for when someone comes to your page, maybe they just discover you through the Explore page or whatever it might be. If they can go to your page and right away know, okay, this person posts about fashion or they're a lifestyle influencer or whatever it might be, I think grabbing someone's attention right away. And with that being said, to grab people's attention is creating good, fun, quality content. So I'm not saying you need to invest in a crazy expensive camera. iPhones are amazing and you can get some small, not super expensive cameras as well, which are amazing. So just investing in creating fun, engaging, quality content is a really important and great way to grow a following. Another way to grow a following is to just be engaging with your audience. So answering all of the comments, answering as many DMs as possible, even going on the Explore page and finding similar accounts to you and engaging with their content. These are all really great ways to just get your name out there, get your message out there, and to start growing your following. The next question I want to touch on is, do you have any advice for people who are struggling with staying motivated to reach their career goals? This is another great question, and I want to tie it in with another question that I actually got to was, how do you deal with burnout? So I think these can really go hand in hand, is staying motivated and not getting burned out. It can be really difficult, especially right now in the age of COVID and being home. I know in the beginning of quarantine, I was really struggling to stay motivated because I just came off a really busy fashion month season. I was in Milan and Paris, and I just wanted to keep my content going. I wanted to keep it super beautiful and inspiring and editorial, but how do you do that at home all alone? So that was my trick that I was dealing with, or that was my struggle that I was facing, and how was I going to do it? So in terms of staying motivated, for me, I had to take a step back a little bit because you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself. Fashion should be fun, and that's something that I always remind myself. And I tell myself, if at any point I'm no longer having fun, I need to take a step back because this is what I love. I love writing and styling and editorial. So you should always be having fun. In terms of finding inspiration and staying motivated, I took time to do some research. I took time to look at like vintage editorial photo shoots. I was on Pinterest a lot, sourcing images and finding inspiration for especially at-home shoots. Those were really important, obviously, with everything that was going on. So trying to source images for things like that. I kind of just touched on staying motivated in terms of creating content and what I did, especially in the beginning of quarantine, to stay motivated. Now, to stay motivated in terms of my career, I think something that's really important to share is that, being your own boss, you don't have anyone breathing down your neck, which is amazing. You don't have a boss telling you what to do, but at the same time, you are in charge and responsible for getting everything done. If you don't get something done, you don't have a boss telling you, hey, you didn't get this done. So you are the one that needs to hold yourself accountable. I think for me, the way that I hold myself accountable and just, try to stay motivated, so whether it's filming a YouTube video, making sure I'm publishing on my Instagram, making sure I'm publishing on my website, making sure I'm publishing TikToks and Reels, making sure, I'm sharing on Pinterest and whatever it might be. I think what holds me accountable and keeps me motivated is honestly all of you, because I have such a great and inspiring community who wants to learn about the industry, who wants style advice and career advice. So you are the people that keep me motivated to keep doing what I'm doing and to help me stay accountable to make sure I'm posting and sharing and things like that. And then in terms of dealing with burnout, especially when you work in the world of social media and you have a 24/7 job, it's so important to know when you are beginning to feel burned out and to check in with yourself mentally constantly. You need to be checking in with yourself constantly and just saying, how am I feeling? How am I doing? Am I okay today? Do I feel super anxious or depressed or whatever it might be? Because we all have days like that. I have days where I'm like, I'm feeling so overwhelmed right now. Like, I need to take a step back. So with that being said, when I'm feeling that way, I take a step back. Maybe I have a mental health day. Maybe I say, that can wait until tomorrow. Prioritizing things is really important and not trying to just do everything at once. Looking at a to-do list and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna explode or I'm gonna get sick just because this is too much. Prioritizing, okay, these 3 things are the most important. If I can just get through these 3 today, I'll take the rest of the day off and relax and enjoy some time with my cats or whatever it might be. You guys know I love my cats. So for dealing with burnout, not overwhelming yourself, checking in with yourself mentally always, and then taking mental health days when you need it. The next question is just a fun personal question, and it's, what is your favorite cozy drink for fall? So I'm a big tea drinker. I actually do not drink coffee at all. So I love a hot green tea with nothing in it, just completely plain. Or if I do want something that's a little sweeter, I will get a chai tea latte. Next, someone wanted to know, what is a milestone that changed your life forever? That's a really great question, and just right off the top of my head, if I had to pick something, it would probably be my very first internship, because that was my first step into the industry, my first experience at all that helped me, get my foot in the door and helped me realize, okay, I definitely want to work in fashion. And then the next would probably be when I landed my first job right out of college at Teen Vogue, because I learned so much about the industry and about editorial, which then led me to eventually create Making It in Manhattan and eventually become my own boss. Another question that I've received a few times is just, what made you want to pursue a career in fashion, and how did you know that you really wanted to pursue a career in fashion? So wanted to just dive into that a little bit. Ever since I was young, about 10 years old, I've just always loved dressing myself. That was something that I always loved. Putting together outfits was something, I don't know, I just really enjoyed. I went to a private school when I was younger, so for most of my life I actually had to wear a uniform, but whenever we had a dress down day, as they called it, I would get so excited. I would start planning out my outfit like a week in advance if I knew. I remember one time, I think it was in 5th grade, and this was really a weird defining moment. For some reason, my class won a week of dress down days. I can remember being in the hallway of my house, laying out every single outfit I was gonna wear for that whole week, just because I was so excited. And I remember putting together different looks and the shoes and everything, and I just remember being so excited. So I just feel I didn't choose fashion, it kind of chose me, which sounds so cliche and cheesy, but it really is true. It's something that I've always loved. And then around the same time in 5th grade, when I started really just loving putting together outfits, my parents actually enrolled me in art classes, which is something that I loved. So I started painting and drawing, and after school 1 day a week, I would have like private art lessons with our school art teacher, but they were outside of class, so they were really, really fun. I used to enter art competitions, and for a while I thought I wanted to be an artist actually, and I loved it so much. But eventually, as I got a little bit older, I realized that you could draw clothing, and that's kind of where I found my love into fashion design. And so I went to college as a fashion design major, and then eventually ended up changing my major to design and merchandising. But yeah, I've just always really loved fashion. It was something that I've always enjoyed. I used to, when I was in high school, watch runway shows on YouTube. I can remember watching Betsy Johnson's fashion shows on YouTube every season when they'd upload them, I guess, afterwards. And, my junior year of high school, I had to do a report on someone I admired, and I did it on Betsy Johnson just because I loved her so much and thought she was so cool. And I used to always tell myself, oh my gosh, if everyone in the fashion industry is like Betsy Johnson, it must be such a cool place to work in. And full disclosure, not everyone is as cool as she is, but she is definitely amazing, and there are a lot of really inspiring and cool people in this industry, and that's what makes it so fun to be part of it. Another question I wanted to touch on was just, what is the worst part of working in the fashion industry? And I wanted to touch on this because I feel like I obviously always show a lot of the positive sides of things, but it is super important to be realistic and to be honest with you guys. So something that I sometimes struggle with is definitely comparison. And that's just not only the fashion industry in general, that's just the social media world. And it's super easy to just get caught up in what other people are doing and to compare yourself to others. And I sometimes find myself going down the rabbit hole, not feeling good enough, not feeling pretty enough, not feeling successful enough. But that's totally normal, and it's something we all deal with. But that might be, I don't want to say the worst part, but one of the hardest parts of working in a job that revolves around social media, because you're constantly doing great and amazing things, but so is everyone else. So you have to just remind yourself to stay in your lane, focus on your goals, focus on what you're doing, because if you do, you will be able to put all of your time and energy and focus into you and to building your brand and into being as successful as possible. So the next question that I got was, I want to work in fashion, but what exactly do you do? I think that's a great question because a lot of people wonder, what do you do? So I actually did film a whole other career advice kind of Q&A answering some of your questions about what I do. So I'll link that below, but I do a lot of different things. I'm a fashion editor, stylist, and then I also wrote a book called Making It in Manhattan, and I run an editorial site also called Making It in Manhattan. So I work with brands on a lot of different cool collaborations and projects, but again, I'll link that video below because it's like a super long, I think 20-minute video, but it fully explains everything I do, and it also gives a lot of career advice on how to break into the industry. So the next question is about finding your personal sense of style and just how would you help someone find their personal style. So for me, I have a very eclectic, colorful sense of style, and it's taken me years to develop. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't just overnight I kind of found my personal sense of style. This was a journey. Throughout college, I was experimenting. High school, I had to wear a uniform full time. So it was really in college was when I started just experimenting, putting things together, and just figuring out what I truly, genuinely liked. I think in today's age with social media, it might be a little bit difficult sometimes to find your personal sense of style because you're influenced 24/7 by what other people are wearing, and you can't fully figure out what you like and what works for you. So the biggest advice I can give you is to experiment, to play around with different things. That's the best way that I find out what I truly like and what works for me and works for my body type and works for my skin tone and things like that, because everyone's different. So for me, experimenting is the biggest piece of advice. Try on different things. When you have time, especially now with being home 24/7, try on different things, put together different outfits, put together different patterns, put together different colors, mix and match different things that you maybe wouldn't normally put together, but that just somehow work. That's what my style is all about, and I kind of joke about it. things that you wouldn't normally think would work together, but they do. So yeah, when it comes to finding your personal sense of style, there is no right and wrong. That's the best part about fashion. There are no rules, there's no right and wrong. There is no, oh, this works, that doesn't work. Fashion is all about opinion. So what I love, someone else might not love, and that's totally okay. So I think another point to finding your personal sense of style is not worrying so much what other people think, because it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, well, what if someone doesn't like my outfit? But at the end of the day, who cares? If you like it and if you feel confident in it, that's all that matters. So someone asked me, do I primarily only wear luxury brands or do I mix in high street too? I really wear everything. I mix high and low fashion. I mix, a pair of Chanel sneakers with an ASOS top, and I think that is what fashion is all about, and that's the best part of this industry is you can mix and match so many different things. So no, I'm not only luxury. I wear many different things, and on all my Instagram posts, I usually always tag every single brand I'm wearing, so if you're trying to find something in particular, just check out the tags. So someone asked me a question about my wedding and my engagement, and it's, what do you picture your wedding to look like now that you're engaged? So that's a fun question, and thought I would touch on it a bit. It's funny, I was actually never one of those girls that had their wedding planned out, so I still don't really know what I want my wedding to be like. To just be fully transparent with you guys, I've only started really looking into venues slowly and looking at different locations and things like that. I'm really not jumping in full force to wedding planning just quite yet because of COVID and because I don't know where the world is going to be in a year, but I do really want to have a normal, full-out wedding, and I don't want to rush anything or settle for anything, and I'm not in a rush to get married. Dave and I have been together 7 years now, so yes, we want to get married and, start, I don't want to say start our life, because we're already living our lives. We've been together 7 years, our life is great, but yes, we want to get married and do the whole wedding thing, but I really don't know what I want my wedding to be like. I definitely know I'm not like a country or beach wedding type girl. But with that being said, I really don't know. I'm thinking a fall time wedding. I like the idea of a fall wedding, and I want my dress to be super extravagant and extra and fun. So that will be the main excitement for me, is picking the dress. And once I do start planning anything for the wedding, I will definitely start doing a wedding series. But right now I haven't even done an engagement party yet or anything like that, just because since a lot of my family is in the medical field, we're very sensitive to COVID and to people's feelings, and I don't want to plan an engagement party quite yet in case people aren't comfortable with attending. So that being said, we'll keep you posted on everything. Okay, the next question is, did you have to make a lot of sacrifices to get to where you are today? Yes and no, I would say. So in college, I definitely enjoyed myself. I had a normal college experience. I went to a more so normal college, but I was able to study fashion, but I really got to have and enjoy that experience. But I will say, as soon as I graduated, I dove right into work. I got my job at Teen Vogue, and then I went to InStyle. I started writing my book, and I will say, I don't regret anything at all. I don't regret one bit of it, but I didn't really have a partying phase of my 20s, which is totally fine, but I really didn't, party out in New York City in my 20s, in my young 20s. I'm still in my 20s. In my early 20s, 22, 23, 24, because I feel like I was working a lot, but I was out and about because I was going to fashion events all the time. So I don't know, do those count as going out in New York City? I don't really know. So if I had to sacrifice anything, maybe it's just that I didn't really party and go out a lot in my early 20s. I was just working nonstop, and then once I started writing my book, I sacrificed every single ounce and bit of free time to working on that. So sometimes I had to give up, going out on a weekend or weekend brunches and things like that. But I don't regret it at all, because I'm so thankful for everything that has led me to where I am now. So the next question is about height, and it's reassurances that being a tall gal won't be intimidating to the right partner. I'm 5'10". So I'm 5'9", so I'm right there with you, girl. I feel you. It will not be intimidating. If you guys haven't seen, yes, I am a little bit taller than Dave, and it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother him. I think being a tall girl and owning it. You can still wear heels, you can still wear fun shoes, but it might be intimidating for some guys, but you don't want those guys in your life. You want to find a guy that, you know, is going to support you and empower you and love you for who you are. So from one tall girl to another, you will find the right partner out there. Just give it time, put good energy out into the world, and they will find you. Okay, the next question is pretty funny. I think it's funny because it was a traumatic experience. The question is, did you ever have bangs? And the answer is yes. In college, when I went through my first breakup, I actually got bangs, and it was not a cute look. It was not for me. There are barely any pictures of when I had the bangs. So they started out as straight across bangs. I thought they were gonna be everything. I thought they were gonna be so cute. They ended up just not being right for my face shape. I don't know what it was personally, but then as they grew out, I was able to kind of push them into a side bang. And once they got into a side bang, they looked a lot better. But there's tons of pictures of me with a side bang, barely any pictures of me with a straight across bang. I think maybe 2 pictures exist in the world, and I do not want to share them because they're very embarrassing. Okay, the next question is, tell us about Dave. How did you meet? Knew you loved each other, etc. So just to touch on this quickly, we did do like a little bit of an engagement story video, and I think we touched on it a little bit more, but Dave and I met my senior year of college. He went to a school that was 30 minutes away from mine, and one of my best girlfriends was talking to one of his guy friends. They met through a dating app, and one weekend they wanted to meet up and hang out. So she brought me as her wing woman, and he brought him as his wingman. And while they were kind of hanging out and getting to know each other, Dave and I were then, you know, forced to kind of get to know each other, and we just instantly fell for each other and have pretty much been together ever since that weekend when we met. And yeah, I mean, when we knew we loved each other, I think I had dated some people before him, and he had dated some people before me, and I had just never met someone who like treated me as kindly and with as much respect as Dave does. And that for me was, you know, so important, to be with someone who really respected me and cared about me and would do anything for me. So I think after just like a couple of weeks together, I started to feel some, you know, lovey emotions, and I think eventually he did as well. So yeah, we've been together ever since, 7 years later. Crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna just try to quickly touch on a few more questions because I don't want this video to be too insanely long for you guys. But the next question is, how did you become known as the modern day Carrie Bradshaw? So while I was working at InStyle magazine, I actually always loved Manolos, and I eventually ended up getting connected with the Manolo Blahnik team and started working with them and started being invited to the Manolo Blahnik sample sales, which were amazing. I don't think they happen anymore, but they were incredible. So I ended up getting a bunch of pairs of Manolos from the sample sale, ended up beginning to wear Manolos all the time, and I was a writer in New York City at a fashion magazine, and eventually I would start going to events, and people, obviously I always dressed very eclectically and colorfully, people literally just started saying, oh, you remind me of Carrie Bradshaw, or you're just like Carrie Bradshaw, or when publicists would introduce me to people, oh, she's like the real life Carrie Bradshaw. So that's kind of how that notion started coming about. And I one day told my literary agent, because I was writing my book, that people started calling me that at work, like a modern day or real life Carrie Bradshaw, and she was like, that's amazing, you need to like tagline that catchphrase. And then eventually I was, you know, put in touch with Patricia Field, who is the stylist of Sex and the City. I ended up interviewing her for Making It in Manhattan's website really soon after the launch, which was amazing for the website and for me and my brand. And then maybe like a year after that, her team contacted me because Pat was actually launching a new Carrie nameplate necklace, because she was the one who designed the initial nameplate necklace that Carrie wore in the series. So she was designing a Carrie 2.0 nameplate necklace and asked me to be the face of the campaign and to model the necklace in the campaign. So we did a really fun, cool photo shoot around the East Village. She pulled pieces from the Sex and the City archive that I got to wear and use, like Carrie's little flip phone, the dazzled rhinestone one and stuff like that. So It was an insane and really, really cool experience. And then the pictures and the campaign was featured in Women's Wear Daily and Vogue Italia and Glamour UK and things like that. And then after that happened, I was really known as the modern day Carrie Bradshaw, because in the campaign they called me the Carrie Bradshaw 2.0. So that is the story. So another question I got was, do I take all of my pictures in one day and then post them, or how long does it take me from the moment I take a picture to actually posting it? It just really depends what I'm shooting, if I'm working on a campaign and things like that. If I'm working on a campaign with a brand, how it usually works is I have to shoot the content and then I have to submit the content to the brand for approval. I can't just post it. So that approval process could take a week, it could take 2 weeks. It just really, really depends. So there is definitely some lag time in between that. And then if I do have a big shoot day where maybe I shoot 3 or 4 looks, I will definitely take time to spread out that content and make the most of it rather than just posting it all immediately, because it is easier for me if I can shoot a bunch of things in one day and then spread it out. But when I was, out and about in the city more pre-COVID, I felt like I was posting, a little bit more in real time, because I'd shoot something and then post it, or maybe I was walking down the street and just got a cool picture of my outfit in a mirror or whatever it might be. So it really just depends what I'm working on and things like that. But if I shoot something big and it's for a campaign, there's usually some lag time in between there. Okay, and the last question I wanted to just touch on was, hi, you're so inspiring to me. My question is, how do you get all of the connections you have now? That's a great question, because building your network and building your connections is everything in this industry, and that's pretty much how you land jobs, that's how you land projects, that's how you get your name out there. For me, I started building my network while I was at Teen Vogue, while I was working at InStyle, and then I was able to take that network and, kind of develop it into what I'm doing now, or push it into what I'm doing now. So I was able to take those connections I made, and then when I was going out on my own building Making It in Manhattan, I was then meeting up with these connections and just letting them know, hey, I'm now building this brand called Making It in Manhattan. I'm working on a book and things like that. How can we work together? How can we continue working together? We used to work together all the time at InStyle. So building those connections, fostering those connections, and then keeping those connections, keeping in touch with your network, letting them know what you're up to, what you're working on, I think is always really important. If you're, just starting out in the industry, maybe you're in high school or college and you're trying to build your network and build your connections out, it's obviously way different right now in the age of COVID and being home. So one big tip that I've been giving a lot of people is to try to network digitally. So if you have, an editor you admire, or a designer you admire, or an influencer you admire, see if you can reach out to them, via LinkedIn, via email, via any type of social media, and see if maybe, you can ask them for advice, or ask them if they're hiring, ask them if they're taking on interns. I think right now we need to just make the most of the situation we're in, and if you can build your network digitally through reaching out, maybe through a professional Instagram DM or a TikTok DM or whatever it might be, I think reaching out to people you admire and just, saying, hey, just trying to build my network, would love to connect with you and maybe pick your brain about what you do or whatever it might be. Building and fostering those connections, and then hopefully in a post-COVID world, fingers crossed, you can eventually meet these people in person and continue to build your network. So if you watched up until now, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to get to as many questions as I could, and I hope this video isn't too insanely long, but thank you guys so much for tuning in and for submitting all these incredible questions for this video. If I wasn't able to get to your question, or if you have another question, please leave a comment below and make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.